So, here we are. This is the introductory episode of Cleanse, Purge, Kill, Twonkhammer Entertainment's Warhammer 40k Eternal Crusade podcast. Is it okay to say 40k? I always call it 40k, but
yeah,
I don't know.
40k.
So I'm not going to have all the Warhammer purists attack me?
No.
Fantastic. That would be very unfortunate, and I would not appreciate that whatsoever. But it is what it is. So, hi. Initially, we were probably going to have Sam run this boat and get us all started like we did with our previous podcast, but as it is, his internet's all acting up, so I'm taking the helm of this ship, I guess. I guess we can have a theme going on. We're on a ship, and don't you ever forget. Yeah, you saw where I was going with that,
Let's hope it's not the Titanic, though, eh?
Well, we've already had the Tortanic happen, but yeah, I went down with that vessel and still sinking. That's what happens when you're in space and you crash. You either explode or you just drift into endless space. So anyway, you drift into an Eternal Crusade. That was a terrible, terrible pun. Expect many of those. Many more of those in the future. So, anyway, getting this boat going or show rolling or whatever it is we're doing, I'm not quite sure anymore at this point. It's already getting kind of confusing. Anywho, I am, I guess, for now, your lead host, Rode, and with me today I have Michael, who
Hello,
40k people may already recognize. So, Michael, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Michael, otherwise known as the Cosmic Engine. I run a YouTube channel, and I cover the Eternal Crusade in my YouTube channel with the series The Astronomicon, which is the Eternal Crusade show. And I tweet a lot.
Do you?
Yeah, heinous amounts sometimes. Not as much as you, though.
Yeah, I was about to say, just let me put it this way. As soon as you've got anywhere close to what I've got going on, I will agree that you post a lot.
You need help.
It's true. I'm not even going to argue that one. I need help. And as for me, I am Rode, for those that don't know, and if you're listening to this for the first time, then you probably wouldn't. I am Rode. I am essentially the lead podcaster for Twonkhammer Entertainment. I run many shows such as Torocast, Star Wars The Old Republic's longest-running fan podcast, TSOcast, Twonkhammer Entertainment's Elder Scrolls Online podcast, and you can also hear my voice on The Bandhammer, which is our general gaming podcast for Twonkhammer Entertainment. You're going to hear me say Twonkhammer Entertainment a lot, so get used to it, or don't. It's up to you. So, here we are. I guess I can go ahead and get into our contact information that we can start to get this show rolling, officially.
Yeah.
Essentially. I don't know. If you would like to get a hold of us or find this podcast or many others that we're associated with, you can go to cleansepurgekill.com. It's going to take me a lot to get used to saying that. Twonkhammer.com, twitter.com/CPK podcast. It doesn't really flow, but it's going to have to work. Twitter.com/Twonkhammer, Facebook.com/Twonkhammer, YouTube.com/Twonkhammer, for any of our videos, which you might see also with Michael's. Rate, hate, and subscribe on iTunes once we're on there, because as this is the first episode, probably going to take us a little while to get on there. But that's kind of the point of this episode, to get us on there. So we have our name saved. It's all good like that. And, of course, if you'd like to help us out in any way, shape, or form to do this podcast or many others, because it is not free and comes purely out of, I would say, ours, but mostly Sam's pocket, you can go to twonkhammer.com/audible to get your free 30-day trial and your one free book token. Doing so would really help us out a lot and probably get you addicted to doing it just like I am now.
Yes.
1 month accidentally subscribing, and I've not looked back. Oh, well, I don't regret it. So I guess as this is our first episode, we really don't have a lot of news to cover, except for really covering what we know so far, at least what's listed on their website. We are going to kind of skirt over some of the details specifically, but once we do get into our cycle and start doing reporting on the news as it comes out, we will be calling that segment Across the Vox. It makes sense, trust me.
It does.
I thought it was witty. That's why I like it. I made it. Anyway. So, I guess we can go ahead and go straight into our discussion. We were also going to have a segment where we would ask the developers questions, because the developers have graciously stated that they are going to do everything in their power to work with the fan community and make sure that no one's kept out of the loop to get any answers they can possibly get answered. And being that I've reported on several MMOs at this point, having someone who's actually, within the dev team, much less the studio head, saying that they want to actively communicate with us, that's a little refreshing, I gotta say. So I'm really looking forward to actually having that kind of interactive relationship with them.
So
we were going to, maybe make our own questions, but if there's any questions that you, the listener, has for us, by all means, you'll be able to send them in to us, and of course we're going to have an email set up and all that. You can leave comments on the website, do whatever it is, contact us on Twitter. We'll ask your questions for you and do our best to get answers for them as well. And if not, we'll just ask our own. Our discussion of the week doesn't have any witty titles whatsoever, but here it is. So we're going to start off by, I guess, explain a little bit about what the game is, where it's coming from, who it's by, and so on and so forth. First off, Warhammer 40k is, of course, the intellectual property of Games Workshop, whereas Warhammer 40k Eternal Crusade is a MMO being developed by Behavior Online. Michael, you can tell us a little more about Behavior Online, so explain that.
Yeah, well, Behavior Online are a relatively new studio within Behavior Interactive. They were set up for the sole purpose of developing MMOs, and being a new studio, the studio head, Miguel Caron, he came in and basically brought with him a team of MMO veterans, as he likes to call them, from various places who had worked on various games. And they have been in development of Eternal Crusade alongside Games Workshop now. They've also been involved in doing Star Citizen with Chris Roberts. And so, yeah, it's a relatively new studio, but there's a lot of experienced developers on that particular team. It's basically, as I say, it was created for the purpose of developing MMOs, and what they did is decided to handpick the people that they wanted on that team and draft them all in to create the new studio.
Fantastic. Oh man, I'm honestly a little bit worried initially because I hadn't personally heard of Behavior, but once I started looking into a little bit of where they're coming from, hearing some of the names that are on the team included, I gotta say it's looking pretty good.
Well, this is what happened. I mean, this is how it all stemmed. I mean, originally, when I first started covering Eternal Crusade, I didn't intend to cover the game at all. What happened was I heard about it, I thought that's quite interesting. So I did a YouTube video on it saying, because like many, I hadn't heard of Behavior Interactive. And I looked them up and I kind of went, wow, that's a lot of video game trash there. Because they were doing things like, in the past they'd done things like Doritos Crash Course, a lot of, seriously, like a lot of movie tie-ins as well, like, it just shovelware basically.
Right.
And I basically said this on my video, and I said, I'm a bit, I raised my concerns on the video, and the studio head of Behavior Online saw my video and he said, your information is incorrect. Can we get this sorted? And I said, yes. And what he did is actually he gave me 2 hours of his time, and we recorded an interview in which he was completely open and honest, and he was a really nice guy. And I asked him the questions that I wanted to ask at the time. Looking back now, I probably asked him about 3 hours worth more. But yeah, he was open. He and he said to me just before the interview started, he said, I said, I want you to get a feel of how he wanted me to ask the questions and stuff. He said, oh, just don't hold back. Just ask me anything. I don't care. And I said, what, really? Yeah, because to hear a developer say that.
Yeah, I know. I understand completely.
What? Are you serious? And he said, yeah, no, just ask me anything. So I did. And to his credit, he answered honestly, and he did really well, and he was really nice, and he pretty much got me excited about the game. And so since then, I've covered it on my YouTube channel. And yeah, I continue to cover it, and I really look forward to playing it, to be honest, because it sounds awesome.
Absolutely. That, as you stated during the interview, which I did listen to and was quite impressed by the amount of information that was kind of just dumped in your lap, they do have quite the pedigree behind them. So
yeah, exactly.
It's a formula for success right out the gate.
Exactly. I mean, this is the biggest thing, is that, because it's a new studio within Behavior Interactive, they've brought in some serious people to do this, to make sure that it is a good game. And on top of that, that with Games Workshop being so protective over their IP. They don't like a bad game. So if Games Workshop have said, go ahead and do this, then you kind of know that they must have some kind of traction to be able to land that deal.
Absolutely. All right, so let's go a little bit into exactly what kind of MMO we're looking at, because looking at some of the other games that we're reporting on with the network as it is, we've got your typical WoW style MMOs, we've got some kind of fledgling action-based MMOs. It always comes down to the grind, get the new set of gear, get the next level, get the next skill set, make sure that your guild's the strongest, or that you guys are doing the end game content. This isn't exactly that kind of MMO whatsoever.
No, it's a bit different, and I like that because I don't think, when I first heard about it, I don't think that the Warhammer 40k universe lends itself well to a strict traditional MMORPG.
Oh, absolutely not.
So, it basically, how it's described so far is basically it's almost an MMORPG with third-person shooter thrown in. I like to describe it in the good sense as Space Marine Online. If
yes,
played,
which
the Warhammer Space Marine game,
and that game really could have lent itself to a much better online experience.
Yeah, so it's like that, but jacked up to about 20,000%.
Oh yes,
I like that. I've got no problem with that. That to me was a fantastic game, and if they expand and make it feel like Space Marine felt when you were chopping down an orc with your chainsword, then I'm down with that, to be honest. But in terms, like you were saying, with the grind and stuff like that, there's no levels in the game. There is a progression in the game. So the way that me and Miguel in the interview were talking about it, it's going to be kind of like it is in the Warhammer universe, where you get requisition and for your deeds on the battlefield. So you once you're getting more and more better at your battles, and you've earned your rewards and your medals, you'll be able to access more weaponry. And I also put a slight hint in my interview as I asked him, kind of cheekily, would there be Terminator honors, and he kind of grinned. So if I could play as a Terminator, I'll be down with that. But there is a progression system. It's not just going to be just drop you in and that's all there is to the game. There is going to be loot, there's going to be gear, there's going to be all different kinds of things, but it's just there's no level system, there's no daily grind for XP. It's just get in there and go kill all your enemies.
Right, and we're going to go more in depth in that in the future, but one thing that I did kind of notice from that interview is that when you guys were talking about loot isn't just, I got a green piece of gear, gotta go vendor this piece of crap. Loot actually matters.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that kind of system, at least.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I mean, there's not too much on about it at the moment. But, I mean, what was basically stated was that even if you pick up loot that you can't use or don't want to use, that will still benefit your army and your faction in some way.
Right, exactly.
So what the mechanics are going to be of that, who knows? But it sounds good anyway. I like the sound.
Oh, it definitely does. So, essentially, Warhammer 40k, The Eternal Crusade, is going to be a third-person, massive combat-based RPG, as kind of stated, which sounds to me like it kind of lends itself almost to I wouldn't say a planet-side atmosphere, but then again, I really wouldn't say that. I mean, it's going to be third-person, which PlanetSide is a first-person game.
Yeah, I think I like to compare it to PlanetSide in the sense of it takes basically the good points of PlanetSide.
Yeah.
Which in my mind, but in terms of its scale and
yes.
in terms of its massive feel, and puts it in the Warhammer 40k universe. There's so many things. When PlanetSide first originated, I was so excited for it, and they just didn't execute a lot of things very well. But I like to think that they're just taking kind of the idea of PlanetSide in terms of its vastness and its big online battles and just making it better,
right,
than PlanetSide did.
All right. So what about the combat? Now, again, it is going to be third person, but it's not going to be the type that you run out there, you hit, your power boost to increase your next ability of your attack, and then you wait 3 seconds for the global cooldown to end, and then use your next ability. It's not going to be one of those games where you would literally have to have just 5-6 panels of nothing but skills. It's going to be a little more close focused than that, right?
Yeah, it's going to be skill based in essence. Obviously there's going to be different weapons,
right?
And there's going to be different classes. But obviously, there's going to be it's a shooter, and but there's going to be, obviously, with Warhammer 40k, you have to have melee combat because it's an integral part of the experience, and that's why I like to equate it to Space Marine in the fact that Miguel and the team have promised that transitioning from range combat to melee combat will be quick as it was in Space Marine,
right?
And that I personally like to be up close and personal with a sword rather than at range with a gun. So I said, I want to make sure that combat, that up close combat, is gratifying and feels good. And they said that, that's definitely one of the premises of when they're designing the combat currently, is that they want to make both melee and range combat feel good. So it's going to be, very much skill based in that regard. You've got to get better at the game, and that's the way it's going to work.
And I really like that too, because I felt like Space Marine, while it was a great single player game, I feel like there was so much more they could have done to make the multiplayer better, and not just because of the inability for connectivity. It's a peer-to-peer game, but thinking of that game in a more broad, open space seems like what they should have done to begin with.
Yeah.
But that's me. Oh, absolutely. But
Battlefield chaos.
War is chaos. War is hell. So what's war without a little bit of chaos going on right in the middle of it?
Exactly.
You shouldn't just be able to tab target in an area where you've got thousands of people just going at it. You shouldn't be able to just pick out one guy in the battlefield and jump to him as if no one else is around you. If you shoot towards someone that's behind 6 other guys, then I hope your shot is literally going through those 6 other guys and doing something to them to hit that person back there.
Yeah.
And that it makes it a more active feel too, like if you want to intercept a shot, if that's the way they're going. If you are about to get hit by some sniper cannon or a las cannon or something like that, then again, if you're getting shot at by las cannon, best of luck to you. But if I've got a Terminator armor and a great shield, I should be able to run out there and block the shot, or at least die trying. You know?
They've said that they've compared the combat to kind of like Space Marine, things like Gears of War, where you'll be able to duck and you'll be able to avoid incoming attacks and you'll be able to roll. So it's going to be pretty fast paced, I would think.
Oh God, I hope so. I mean, really, just the way things happen in Warhammer, it should be. Especially since, in my personal opinion, if the option's there and I can play an Assault Marine, put on a jetpack and jump down right in the center of the melee and just go crazy, that's what I want to do.
Exactly. And it's something that I like about the team and the devs, that they've said, a lot of them are Warhammer 40k fans, and their philosophy behind making the game is that they want to make a game that Warhammer fans will want to play.
Right.
And I think that's important because you want it to feel like Warhammer 40,000, and you want it to feel like it's gritty, it's dark, it's war's war. It is war. There's blood and guts and chaos and madness everywhere.
I like madness. I'm pretty down with that. So, unfortunately, this game is not coming out anytime soon. No. So, maybe you could look at this as if we're jumping the gun a bit to even bother reporting on this, but then again, Michael's already knee-deep in doing it. Whether or not it was his intention, he's already there doing it. So, the game's not planned to be released until late 2015. And beta's not supposedly going to even happen until later 2014, right?
Well, open beta is expected around late 2014. Yeah.
Right.
They're going to probably have a closed beta before then, so possibly closed beta around springtime next year.
Fantastic. A lot of good stuff coming out next spring, so kind of looking forward to that. Even if it is something that I were to get into, wouldn't be able to talk about,
Yeah.
Just saying. Not that I'll probably ever get in, because I'm never that lucky, but that's just...
But I mean, I think it's important. I mean, the reason that I've always been a Warhammer 40k lore fan, I haven't played the games in a long time because they're expensive. The tabletop is expensive. To play.
Expensive is putting it lightly.
But I've always been a fan of the games, and I've always been a fan of the universe most of all because I think it's a fantastic universe. And I think it's something after what happened with THQ and the MMO that was in development with Dark Millennium and the disappointment from Warhammer 40k fans that it's a very strange scenario how we basically had this great MMO in development and then THQ went under and then we had nothing. Warhammer 40k fans thought that was it. No more games for us for a long time. And then Games Workshop completely pulled out the bag, licensed their IP off to various developers, and now it's a great time to be a Warhammer 40k gamer because you've got Space Hulk just come out. You've got several games in the pipeline.
They've got a card game called Space Wolves, was it?
Yeah, they've got Space Wolves. Yeah, they've got Armageddon, which is a strategy, tactical strategy game. They've got loads of games in the pipeworks.
I've even seen I think there might be someone working on Dawn of War 3 also.
Yeah, well, I know that supposedly Creative Assembly are in the process also of doing I don't think it's going to be a 40k game. I think it's going to be a Warhammer Fantasy game. But they might be doing a Total War Warhammer Fantasy, which is I'll play that. I love Total War.
That would be awesome.
So yeah, I mean, it's very strange how it very quickly went from everyone was so depressed that there was going to be no Warhammer games at all, and then we're almost getting them by the month at the moment.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like, or what it seems like at least right now.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got an idea of the factions that are coming out. At least the ones that are planned for launch. And there's also several that are possibly planned as expansions.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and just head right into, who we're going to expect to launch first and foremost. And these are the announced ones which you can find on their website, eternalcrusade.com. First off, what would a Warhammer 40k game be without the Space Marines?
Exactly. The main.
It's... No matter how you look at it, it doesn't even matter how many fans there are, because I know most of my buddies that play are more Orc fans, but Space Marines are just the selling point of 40k.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean, that whenever I hear 40k, the first thing I think of is Space Marines, possibly because they've always been the protagonist of the games, so that's why I know them the best.
Yeah.
You've got
they're just the icon, the icon of the franchise, aren't they?
Absolutely, yes. You've also got the Chaos Space Marines, which are those Space Marines who have fallen prey to the corruption of the Warp and seek the destruction of the Imperium.
Yep.
A little dramatic, aren't they?
They're great.
Yeah, they're like zombie Space Marines. That's what they look like to me.
Brilliant. You've just offended every Chaos Space Marine player ever.
It's kind of the idea. I'm already setting up my line right now.
Here we go. Watch it come. Eldar Space Elves. Is that what you're going to say?
You got me.
Oh,
I was planning on saying that. Okay. So the Eldar are a dying race of mysterious beings from before the birth of mankind with a mastery of psychic powers. So essentially Space Elves. What are you going to do? All right? I'm just going to go well, that's what I'm here for. So, that's fine. And then you've got the Orcs, which are brutal green-skin hordes that seek war in all its forms. They're also plant people.
They are.
They are. That's what they are.
Yeah. We'll go into that in another episode.
We are, actually. The way that we've got things kind of set up right now is over the course of the next at least 8 episodes. Well, after the next one, because the next one will be covering Michael's interview. But post that, we're going to be covering the first four, or possibly the only four chapters that they're releasing for the Space Marines, and the 4 clans that they're releasing for the Orcs, which are all the information we have so far on what the factions and clans and chapters and subdivisions and whatever you want to call them for the or that are listed on the website at present. Yeah.
Yep.
I got a little confused there for a second. Just, it is what it is. It's late. So, for the Space Marines, you're going to have the, again, iconic Ultramarines, the Blood Angels, the Space Wolves, and the Dark Angels.
Yep.
And though I haven't done all that much reading into these, I want to see Black Templar.
Yeah.
All right.
I want to speak, but I understand why they've gone with these 4 chapters, because they are the biggest and most well known.
The most popular ones?
Yeah, I think they're definitely the most popular. I do know, I've heard on the grapevine somewhere that there will be possibly a 5th chapter coming at some point that is going to be possibly voted for by the fan base. It's not been confirmed yet, but I have heard rumours. So hopefully that will be Black Templars, because I love Black Templars.
Well, if they are going to be black, if that is going to happen and they are going to allow us to vote, I'm going to require everyone to go vote for Black Templar, or I'm going to be a thorn in your side for every podcast. I will do everything I can to at least annoy one person. At least.
But yeah, I mean, I think with those 4 chapters, you've got a good range there.
I would agree. But again, I just kind of want to smite people, so... Yeah. And of course, a little fun fact that I saw when I was looking around, digging through the lore and stuff like that. The flagship, the Black Crusaders, is actually called the Eternal Crusade. So I'm kind of curious if that's going to come in.
That'd be cool.
I don't know. That's just a little guess that I've got going on. Or maybe it's just I'm reading way too far into it. I don't know. But anyway, moving on. For the Orc clans, we're going to have the Evil Suns, the Bad Moons, the Death Skulls, and the Goth. I know absolutely nothing about any of these.
Yeah, I know a fair bit. They're all pretty good. They're all pretty unique. They all actually fulfill... They kind of complement almost a class system, if you will, because each one has a different culture in terms of the clan's philosophy and what they prize most. Like some is technology, some is money, some is just brutish force. So it's kind of good. I like it. I think they've chosen good. I mean, there's so many to choose from, especially with all clans there is, and in Space Marines. There's so many different chapters and clans you could choose. But I think they've done a good job of kind of broadening that out a bit, which is good. But I'll go into the clans another episode.
Yeah, so go ahead and we'll kind of introducing that point. Another segment of the show that we are going to be going on and on and on and on about in future episodes is per episode we're going to have one specific lore topic. We do have the next 9 episodes worth planned out in advance on what we're going to be talking about. But if there's anything lore specific that you would like us to dig into, learn about, speak about, or whatever, we will have an email address which we will list near the end of the show that you can send all of your questions to, requests, or what have you. But as for this episode, Michael, do you have a little bit of an introduction to Warhammer 40k as a whole ready for us?
Yeah, so I mean, those obviously who play Warhammer 40k will know pretty much everything I'm about to say, but there are always going to be those listeners who do not know a single thing about Warhammer 40k.
I am barely above that line.
Exactly. So Warhammer 40k originally is a tabletop game, as we mentioned.
It is?
It was, yes.
Oh, fantastic.
It was created in I think it was 87. I'm going to say 87.
Oh.
I think it was 87.
It's almost as old as I am.
Yeah, it was a big hit, and basically Games Workshop created it, and they basically created this new tabletop game, and they said, we want some way to promote this and get people interested, so they started to create a backstory to it, and that backstory expanded in novels and fan fiction and things like that, and it became the Warhammer 40k universe, which is almost as big as any fantasy book you've ever read. If you read Lord of the Rings or anything like that, you think how big those worlds were. Well, this is 10 times that, and there's so much variety, and it basically stems from the premise of what runs through is that humanity. It's the 41st millennium, and humanity has expanded across the stars. There's trillions and trillions of humans, and before this, there was an immortal man, and he became the emperor, and it was the god emperor, and he created from his superior genes, he created 20 primarchs, or 20 of his sons, and these were basically the primarchs, and they were the first space marines. So they were genetically engineered superhumans, and basically what kept occurring, they expanded with technology, and after that, one of the sons, which was Horus, he fell to the forces of chaos. And what chaos is chaos is an entity that roams in the warp. Now, the warp for sci-fi fans is almost like subspaces in Star Trek. It's almost like a parallel dimension. And basically, the warp ships, to travel to various destinations in the galaxy, they travel through the warp to get there quickly. And so basically, he was corrupted by the Chaos Gods. There's four Chaos Gods.
Who's messing with the 40k lore nerds now?
Oh, I know. I'm terrible. I'm sorry. But anyway, Horus was corrupted, and he took many, and he betrayed the Emperor, and he killed the Blood Angels Primarch Sanguinus, and he mortally wounded the Emperor. And before the Emperor died, while the Emperor was mortally wounded, he killed Horus, and because he was on near death, the Emperor was interred in something called the Golden Throne. Now, the Golden Throne is a device that basically keeps him in a near-death state, but allows his psychic powers to be expanded across the universe, and he's basically sustained through that Golden Throne, and he has been in that Golden Throne for the past 10,000 years. And so, as I say, all Space Marines came from the 20 Primarchs, and they all developed into split legions, split chapters. And the reason that they have separate chapters is because after the Horus Heresy, it was deemed too dangerous to keep the Space Marines as a unified force. So to make sure that in case one Space Marine chapter went bad, they would all be separate, and so that they could fight each other should the need arise. And as I say, so humanity expanded, and they face off against multiple enemies. Basically, they're constantly at war. The Imperium is constantly at war. They sacrifice millions of human lives at a time through the Imperial Guard, which is almost the humanity's standard army. and
they're poor sods.
Yeah, they're basically like you and I, and they get given a big gun and they're told to die so they can.
They may as well have been given a knife and told to take out a.
But they are given tanks. They're given plenty of tanks, so that's a benefit.
I've heard their tanks are quite impressive, though.
They are. So, as I say, they face off against a variety of enemies. Now, the races that basically populate the Warhammer 40k universe, apart from obviously the humans and the Space Marines, are obviously the Chaos Space Marines, which are Space Marines that have been corrupted by Chaos. The Eldar, which, as Road likes to call them, are Space Elves. The Dark Eldar, which are almost the parallel to the Eldar. The Eldar are kind of trying to restore their former glory and save their race, whereas the Dark Eldar are kind of basically psycho killers.
So they're like Space Drow.
Yes.
I'm going to try to mess with as many
Send
people
your hate
as
mail
possible.
to Road.
Road at twalkhammer.com.
Yeah, and then you've got the Orcs, who are almost your very quite essential Orcs with a twist.
They're plant people.
They're great. And you have the Tau, which won't be in game at launch. And the Tau are basically a blue-skinned alien race who have a affinity for technology, and they are basically they live in a socialist state. Basically, everything that they do is for the better of their race. And then, last but not least, you have the Necrons, who are basically skeleton machines, who are ruled by an ancient race called the Satan, and they are basically the mortal enemies of chaos. And you also have the typical alien Xenos breed of aliens, which are the Tyranids as well.
Which, if you ever hear me during the show refer to anything as Xenos, I'm talking about the Tyranid. I call them Xenos because I forget they're called Tyranids.
Yeah, but
forewarning.
So you got, and the Tyranids are basically controlled by a hive mind. But Tyranid lore is actually quite sketchy because they're very shrouded in mystery because no one knows actually what their kind of motivations are apart from eating worlds. So that's about it. And that's basically your basic Warhammer 40k lore in a nutshell. Space war.
Alright, fair enough. So that covers most of what we're here to talk about today. Again, this is kind of the introductory episode, so there's not a whole lot that we had entirely planned for this show. It was more so that we could get on iTunes, preserve our name, and have a starting point so we can really start rolling out the content.
Yeah.
At this point of the show is when we would introduce our mailbag, which I have kind of translated into orc speech on our show notes here, but I'm not going to even try to yell that out because I would destroy my voice if I tried. Where, again, you guys can send us any mail, comments, questions, topic discussions, or just whatever kind of spam you want to send us. Or hate mail.
Send us
hate mail will probably come to me in droves now.
Yeah, do send Road all your hate mail.
I do get it every now and then. It's quite entertaining. You can do all that by sending any of those things that I previously mentioned to road@twonkhammer.com. And with that, that's probably going to cover the show for right now, so we're going to go ahead and start wrapping things up. We don't have anything really to announce aside from the fact that we are actually online now. We have a website, which is cleansepurgekill.com.
Yeah, and that'll be updated as we
roll out the content for it. We will be updating it. Yes.
And as I say, we'll get our teeth kind of in the next couple of episodes. We'll start talking about the announced features and discussing stuff like that in the next couple of episodes. But as I say, this is just the first of many stepping stone.
Exactly. This is where we kind of get our feet wet, get used to the false gravity, get things rolling. So, from there, we're going to go ahead and start closing out the show. If you'd like to get a hold of us, you can do so by going to cleansepurgekill.com, twonkhammer.com, twitter.com/CPK-podcast, twitter.com/twonkhammer, facebook.com/twonkhammer, go to our YouTube at youtube.com/twonkhammer, rate, hate, and subscribe on iTunes once we are there. And again, as we mentioned at the top of the show, if you would like to help us out in any way, shape, or form, you can do so by going to twonkhammer.com/audible. I've done that hundreds of times at this point. I still can't get it right.
Isn't that the other way around? Isn't it audible.com/twonkhammer?
No, it's twonkhammer.com/audible.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Oh well, there you go.
Yep, we're professionals here.
Yeah.
Michael, where can we get a hold of you?
You can get a hold of me on Twitter, which is @CosmicEngine99. You can head over to my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/The Cosmic Engine. If you want to know more about the Eternal Crusade, you can watch my Astronomicon show. I also do various shows on other topics. I do an RPG series where I review upcoming and old RPGs. I follow Star Wars: The Old Republic. And you just send me a message over Twitter or over YouTube. And if you want to play some Dawn of War 2 sometime, you can catch me on Steam as well.
Alright, and if you'd like to get hold of me, you can do so by going to Twitter @ThatRoadGuy. You can stalk me there, I'll probably stalk you back. Or if you'd like to send me your hate mail, or anything else, I guess, you can do so by sending all those emails to road@twonkhammer.com.
Yes, and I'm just going to answer that question in the chat. Please, Bambi says, will you try and get devs on to talk with? Yes, I will. I will. After we get some questions and stuff, I'm going to send an email over to the devs and see when they're kind of what their schedules are like, and we'll try and get a couple of devs on at different times.
Yeah, that is absolutely part of our plan for the future.
Yeah,
I guess I probably should have stated that. Oh well, there it is. So, going to the out of the show, typically we have some kind of fun little witty saying which we can kind of lead the show out with. As this is the first episode, we really don't have one yet, So I'll go ahead and go out on a quote. People are going to hate me for this one, I know that. Blood for the blood gods, skulls for the skull throne, let the galaxy